Hey guys, this is Ethan, and I'm going to be talking about the boundaries of Georgia. I found this to be super interesting, and I had no clue that the initial boundaries of Georgia looked this different and messed up. Um, I'm only going to discuss up to about the 1800s, so that I stay kind of within the confines of this time period of the Revolutionary War, post-Revolutionary War period. Uh, so, starting in the 1730s, when Georgia first gets its charter, the lines actually follow the Altamaha and the Savannah River, um, and it kind of gives it that a little bit of that shape of Georgia we know. But the headwater of the two rivers, they just drew a straight line all the way to the Pacific, and they just claimed that entire land. So there's actually this entire strip of Georgia that was included in the Charter of Georgia. And this is seen in this image. You can see they just took an entire strip and put it all the way across. So honestly, I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, that's not very enforceable because no one lives there. No one lived there, and so there wasn't any real way to enforce it or make sure no one else, like the Spanish, lived there or had been claiming the land, which they did. So, after the Treaty of Paris in 1763, there's a second one later, but after this treaty from the French and Indian War, this gets shortened, and the colony of Georgia has the same two long lines between the two rivers, but it stops at the Mississippi River this time. And I'll flash this picture again. It just shows that it stops at the Mississippi River. So it stays like that for around 2 decades, and then after Florida kind of breaks off into East and West Florida, in the 1783 Treaty of Paris, which ended the Revolutionary War, we start to see a more modern Georgia form, even though it's way bigger. So if you look at this image, it still extends to the Mississippi River, but you see what we now have is this 31st degree north latitude line that Georgia now follows, and the St. Mary's River, which has that little dip at the bottom that kind of gives Georgia its distinct shape, comes into play now too. So now we kind of have the main modern shape of Georgia, but it still extends all the way to the Mississippi River. And it's not until the 1802 Article of Agreement and Cession that Georgia's western boundary kind of follows the juncture of the Chattahoochee and Flint rivers in southwest Georgia. And then, of course, we see that border there. And that's when Georgia starts looking like modern Georgia. There's actually, the Georgia's borders history keeps going on for a while. And there's a few tiny little lines that get moved around. There's a rock that comes into play. That's just this little tiny rock at the top east part of Georgia that gets kind of foddered between the Carolinas and Georgia. And there's actually, even into the 1990s today, that we see there's some suing between Georgia and South Carolina over fishing islands and stuff that aren't clear because we discovered all these later. So I think it's kind of interesting. Georgia used to look really weird, and it wasn't until the 1800s, and even really then the late 1800s, that it even looked like it does today. And even then, there's still a lot of weird kind of legality battles about fishing islands off the coast of who those belong to. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Thank you.